Gambia police activates Operation Zero Crime amid rising criminal acts. A woman farmer revives hibernated community poultry farm in the Gambia. Ethiopia have begun trainings to adapt to the new digital initiative of Africa's first artificial research center. These and more coming on the world today. Stay with us. Good evening, viewers. You're watching iAfrica TV, and this is the World Today newscast with me, Sohna Tunkara. Now to our news in detail. The Gambia Police Force has announced the deployment of heavy security presence targeting criminal hubs within the Greater Banjul area as of Friday evening. Dubbed as Operation Zero Crime activated, the Joint Security High Visibility Patrols aims to tackle crime and criminal activities and to dismantle all criminal hideouts, the IGP said in a media statement. It warned that all offenders will be prosecuted in accordance with the law. And according to the police command, the public may realize a high presence of security movements within their vicinities as routine patrols will be intensified. However, people are urged to go about their lawful business without panic. More of this story will be followed in our Gambia 24 newscast. Now, a former commissioner of the Constitutional Review Commission, Gay Sow, told the Truth Commission that the so-called immunity clause was inserted in the 1997 Constitution to bar the AFPRC government from trials of human rights violation. He says the 1996 draft Constitution prevented the excessive power of the executive, but these were removed to give Jammeh 100% executive control, including powers to remove a judge.
Gayso said many things were removed from the 1996 draft before it was presented for referendum. The veteran human rights lawyer told the Third Commission on Thursday that the immunity clause was inserted in the 1997 Constitution to give unrestrained power to the APRC government.
I also wanted to emphasize, not only did we have immunity clauses inserted in the draft, those clauses were made unamendable. Let me repeat, unamendable, as in, if you look at the Constitution, there is a part, 97 Constitution, that says the National Assembly cannot even look into changing these provisions. So not just entrenched, but unamendable.
So a lecturer on Gambia's legal system and constitutional law said laws guarding the independence and security of the judiciary were also removed, giving the president the powers to fire judges. This, according to him, has put the country's legal system into disarray.
Key, as in very important for all and every society. You can't talk about there being justice anywhere if at the end of the day people have disputes or there is a conflict between people and they are sure they really wouldn't be able to have those disputes submitted before independent courts. Of course, that leads to chaos.
The director of the Institute for Human Rights and Development in Africa also said the 1997 Constitution gave powers of an absolute monarch to the president. He added that the Gambian Constitution does not ask for the state to embrace one particular religion. Therefore, Jambes declaring Gambia as an Islamic state was illegal and unconstitutional. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
From the reports by Daisy on matters of the Truth Commission, we move on to the global front. Last week, the World Health Organization called on developed countries to donate 100 million COVID-19 vaccine doses to ensure that every country starts immunizing their vulnerable population. Despite slow response from member countries, the WHO chief is pleased that some world leaders are ready to join the international treaty to combat future pandemics. Mariama Cham has the rest of that story.
The World Health Organization said a rush to secure vaccines have delayed deliveries that the COVAX scheme depends on to provide jabs to poorer nations. However, leaders of over 20 countries and the World Health Organization have backed an idea to create an international treaty that will help the world deal with future health emergencies like the coronavirus pandemic. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, WHO Director General, is pleased that more leaders are joining the call.
I'm pleased that more leaders are now joining the call for a pandemic treaty, which would be a generational commitment to keeping the world safe. There will always be new pathogens with pandemic potential. It's not a matter of if, but when. I also requested manufacturers to help ensure that the countries that step up can rapidly donate those doses. This challenge has been heard, but we're yet to receive commitments for these doses.
As the call to provide more vaccines to poorer nations continues, the WHO boss underlined that there still remains a challenge in allocating vaccines to those countries.
Spiking. But conversely, it's when cases are spiking that it's the most important time to share vaccines equitably and protect health workers and at-risk communities. The race is on to get vaccines to those places and groups where they can have the greatest impact.
The main goal of a new international treaty for pandemic preparedness and response will be to foster a comprehensive, multi-sectoral approach to strengthen national, regional, and global capacities and resilience to future pandemics. It will also provide an opportunity for the nations around the world to come together as a global community for peaceful cooperation that extends beyond the current crisis. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
The agricultural sector is regarded as the backbone of Gambia's economy, as different branches of the sector contribute immensely to gross domestic product. And one of them is poultry farming, which is recognizedly creating business opportunities for many young Gambians. In this report, the president of Jamorai Poultry Association, who despite the partial dissolution of the association, put up commitment for its expansion. Poultry business in the Gambia is blooming every day, thanks mainly to local growing appetite for chicken and eggs as substitute to meat or fish, which are all hard to come by nowadays. Jamorai Poultry Farm Association in Kunkujang, with a membership of more than 75 women, is one of the ADP-sponsored projects in the country. It began official operation at the Abuko Agricultural Poultry Center, where all necessary materials needed for poultry production were installed by the ADP. These did not, however, prevent a partial death of the initiative, likely due to loss in track and commitment on the side of the management. Aissatou Badji saw the business venture as too good to collapse and then pursued the goal in reviving it.
Wow. Dañ dem because xam nga loi la ñu liggéey dañ dem ba ñëpp relax talk.
Yes, this farm belongs to the association. But later on, almost everyone relaxed and a great loss was incurred. As the president of this association, I decided to come up with ways of reviving the farm because our sponsors spent a lot for everything to go in vain. This poultry farming is not an easy task. It requires knowledge and commitment. Once that is missing, you are likely to fail. I traveled to America to attend a poultry explore program. I was informed that all the chickens got sick and died. From that day until now, no one came back. Upon my return, I tried to mobilize all the members again, but my efforts were fruitless.
This farm rears different types of chickens, such as broilers, brown layers and white layers, to satisfy the demand of several localities. The farm manager, Adam Okoli, explained the processes involved in breeding of the chicken at the farm.
And like this, the government has put a ban to the importation of chicken right now. But then right now, with the kind of birds that we have in here is these layers here, and then we have the cocktails there at the other room there. No. There's a difference in rearing them. This other one here is a very sensitive one. I allowed you guys to come here, but then it's not part of the rules.
The production of local chicken gives ordinary households The option from the imported industrial chicken constitute the greatest space in our local markets. The price of imported chicken and chicken products is slightly lower than that of the local chicken because of the costs involved in the importation of poultry materials and feeds. In the view of Mr. Kohli,
most of the challenges that we are facing as farmers in the Gambia market, we don't have a proper market due to the importation of the chicken legs, the full chicken, and all these other ones, the imported eggs. Well, you know what happened here in the Gambia? We have a problem of feed. Feed is our main problem. Has the poultry farmers in the Gambia. What happened? We imported feed from Senegal, and the feed costs so much. Right now, there is no price control in the feed. You go today, they will tell you 1,350. You go the other way, the other day, they will tell you, it is in 1,400. So what happened? When you buy it at 1,400, maybe, actually I'm having 1,000 of them here. So those 1,000, they probably need 2 bags of feed for the day. So for the day, at least I'm spending $3,000. But when I look the cost of my production, and then I want to sell my egg at a certain price, I wouldn't make profit out of it compared to the imported. The imported, at least you can have it at a cheaper price than the local one. But then people don't understand that when you tell them that we cannot sell as the imported ones have been sold at the market.
Besides the production of broiler chickens, eggs, and guano, Jamorai offers poultry consultancy services to aspiring poultry farmers. As part of their long-term goal, the farm hopes to train and employ more people as the business thrives along the permanent plans. For African News, Sohna Tunkara. Aissatou Badji revives a near-dead Jamorai community poultry farm. Now, countries around the world are initiating new measures to resuscitate their economies from the impact of the global pandemic. And for South Africa, agricultural experts are of the view that farming is the main source of employment. The agricultural sector grew to over 13% in 2020, according to the country's Statistics Institute. And despite the government planning incentives for the agricultural sector, economics opine that more needs to be done to boost the industry. More in this report.
Agricultural economists believe farming is low-hanging fruit for South Africa's struggling economy. According to Statistics South Africa, the agricultural sector recorded 5.9% growth in the fourth quarter of 2020. Over the year, agriculture grew 13.1%.
The agricultural sector was the star performer in the year because the sector was insulated from the impact of COVID, and this stems or was underpinned by the fact that the sector was classified as an essential service when the initial restrictions were imposed when the rest of the economy came to a halt.
The South African government believes small-scale subsistence farmers are often overlooked when in reality these local operations play a critical role in food security. Around $14.8 million has been set aside for farmers as part of a COVID-19 presidential employment stimulus fund. Up to 75,000 farmers will benefit, with a particular focus on women.
Within these producers, in the majority are women. We have therefore decided to target 50% of women to be beneficiaries in this intervention. 40% of these will be youth, and 6% will target people with disabilities and unemployed military veterans.
Agriculture employs around 4 to 5% of labor currently, a number economists believe has the potential to rise significantly, but it will require political will.
Government needs to come to the table in order to make sure that the policy regime where the sector operates is conducive for the further growth through private partnerships. This can also aid the ailing economy. If you compare South African national budget compared to other emerging market peers are already spending 6% or more, with ours we've only allocated less than 2% in the last couple of years.
The government realizes the potential of agriculture, especially as a means to address the unemployment crisis in South Africa, but it will have to ensure it removes the barriers, improves access, and provides the necessary support. The controversial land expropriation bill will also have to be finalized.
From that, we will now go with a short commercial break and the news continues. Stay tuned.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
I want Nawek to explain to the people of Bunju.
Official. Nit ñi ñu ngi liggéeyee yéen waaye tamit métti na. So sa bonus bi nga am only 2 weeks moom la ñoo jël ñu yóbbu ko yóbbu yépp.
I have a question for QCell. The speed is completely bad.
For the internet. So the QCell people even told me that when you go to Comeo, you will come back. I went to Comeo and what they say is true. The same thing, I moved from Comeo.
But I also have a question as a consumer. Sure. And it has to do with drop calls from Gamcell. I've been raising these questions for the longest time. I mean, I have a 996 number as government, and of course I don't even use it because I can communicate.
Welcome back. If you're just watching, this is The World Today, and now to the rest of our stories. The first ever Artificial Intelligence Center for Africa could help to raise substantial amount of funding for the continent, according to United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. Several African countries are expected to benefit from the technology program to boost their capacities in dealing with health challenges. And some countries like Ethiopia have begun training young people to adopt the new digital initiative. Details of that in this report.
The Artificial Intelligence Center for Africa will help the continent tap into earnings that come with AI technology globally. According to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, the artificial intelligence economy over the next 5 years can generate up to $4.3 billion for the continent.
Congo is a small country, it's a middle-income country, GDP per capita is $14,000. They're never going to be a huge agriculture-producing country with diversified agro-industry. So you need to start getting them to sort of the upper end of the economic sort of production frontier. And we believe that they can actually sit there and feed all of Central Africa in terms of technology. And
Vera says the idea for Africa managing its own AI products arose last year as the continent strived to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. The UN Economic Commission for Africa partnered with several telecommunications companies in Africa and formed what is now called the African Communications Platform. This was deployed in 23 African countries and helped to give information about COVID-19 and to conduct research on health symptoms. The UN Economic Commission for Africa says there is a plan to have more AI centers in the rest of the continent.
Part of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is also there is a protocol for free movements of goods, services, people, and establishment. So we're hoping that we can then, create a few centers around the continent where, people that are sort of tech savvy, AI savvy can all sort of coalesce and create the centers that build out something that the rest of the continent can use.
Some countries are beginning to prepare digital spaces for their citizens. Here in Ethiopia, for instance, digital centers and hubs are opening up, mainly targeting young people. But job creation experts argue for these spaces to develop, there is a need to get financial support, even for the very small innovations.
So let's come up with a bespoke, again, like very tailored type of instrument that is going to be able to go down to the ticket levels that are not attractive to the usual investors, because that's the challenge, in these kinds of ecosystems. Investors are looking at very low ticket items. And they're like, why am I going to, invest in all these low-ticket items? I can invest in the big one in a different economy, for 500K instead of like 50K, 50K, 10 investments, right? And, I'll get my money back, and the amount of risk is less or at least equal, right?
Other countries that have already begun investing in artificial intelligence include Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, and Ghana.
From that report on Ethiopia, coming back home, the Minister of Agriculture, Ami Fabure, has on Wednesday appeared before lawmakers to respond to questions surrounding her ministry. The questions range from rehabilitation of seed stores, reintroduction of the Farmers Corporation to the groundnut production in the country. Binta Fati was at the National Assembly and she files in this report.
Gambia's agricultural sector is regarded as the backbone of the country's economy due to the fertile lands, favorable climate, and the River Gambia. Despite this assertion, the sector continues to face so many challenges. Compared to other countries, farmers in the Gambia are among the lowest income earners. This could be linked to inefficient implementation of agricultural policies, poor market systems, and insufficient farming implements that could ensure productivity and growth of the sector. Raw groundnut is the key export commodity for the Gambia, contributing 1/3 to the country's GDP. However, farmers in the garment sector continue to battle with the prices of the commodity, forcing them to sell their products to the neighboring Senegal. Honorable Alhaji Dabo, National Assembly member for Lower Fuladu West, asked if the Ministry of Agriculture has any plans to protect the groundnut industry by motivating local farmers to prevent them from selling their produce to neighboring countries. Minister Fabre said prevention would depend on the prices being offered by the government.
Because if you look at last year price and this year price, it's quite different. There is a lot of increment this year. So come next season also, we'll look into it. It depends on the price to convince the farmers.
The Honorable Member for Upper Salum, Alhaji Mbao, wanted to know the strategies that the ministry has in place to ensure the exportation of groundnut to generate more foreign exchange for the country. In response, the minister said her ministry intends to collaborate with the Ministry of Trade to partner with the Chinese through the Gambia Groundnut Corporation to purchase groundnut from the country.
As a ministry, I'm trying to liaise with my sister ministry, that's Trade Minister, so that we can also engage the Chinese so that they can be part of our groundnut production to improve groundnut production in this country. That's what is our intention. And then not only that, even the marketing of groundnut, because even our neighboring country, they are using the Chinese to purchase their peanut. So we can also go for that arrangement. That's our intention as a ministry.
The Honorable Member for Serekunda, Halifa Sala, asked Minister Fabre whether the export of raw groundnut is more beneficial to the country than the processed one.
To sell the raw groundnut, that means we're looking in for the foreign exchange, so that Gambia can have a lot of foreign exchange. And if we process into crude oil also, we can also provide the local market. They will also have quality oil. I think that's a very good point. I will try to consider that as a ministry so that we can engage some private people, especially for the crude oil.
Out of more than $30 billion expenditure featured in the approved budget of 2021, the Ministry of Agriculture receives a sum of $1,607,975,000. Reporting for our Africa TV News, I am Binta Fati.
Despite efforts in boosting the Gambia's agricultural sector, farmers continue to struggle. Now, still on matters of the National Assembly, the member for Badibu Central, Suleiman Saho, on Thursday moved a motion before lawmakers on the effects of illicit drug use and trafficking in the Gambia. And according to him, drug abuse is becoming increasingly popular in the country and therefore threatening the future of the youth. Desise tells us more.
Despite the change of government in 2017, Gambia continues to be a transit point for illicit drug smugglers, mainly from South Africa, and are often destined for Europe. The lawmaker for Badibu Central, Suleiman Saho, said although the government has banned the use of cocaine, cannabis, and other harmful substances, the abuse continues to be a social menace in the country. According to him, since the biggest drug seizure was registered in December 2020, some of the recommendations put forward are still not implemented.
Honorable Speaker, now and again, we do hear seizure of drugs, but in the long run, some of the perpetrators are not brought before the justice. However, Honorable Speaker, we must be serious in the fight against hard drug, more so cocaine and heroin, otherwise the future of our youth will be compromised.
Honorable Saho said law enforcement officers should not only focus on the use of cannabis, but instead other harmful drugs threatening the future of the youth.
Honorable Speaker, the entire country is concerned about the drug use among the youth. We must collectively put our hands together, both the executive and the legislature, in the fight against drug trafficking, terrorism, money laundering, to mention but just few. We must ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice as quickly as possible.
Like many other countries, marijuana is the most popular drug used by youth in the Gambia. Most of the cannabis sativa found in the Gambia comes from the Casamance region of Senegal and the western part of the country, although it is grown in diverse places across the country. The Gambia anti-narcotic authorities seized over 2 tons of cocaine at the country's seaports in Banjul in December last year. Since then, no official information has been published with regards to how those drugs are being handled and the search for perpetrators. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Egyptian authorities have extended operating hours for public places such as mosques and business centers during the holy month of Ramadan. Last year, the North African country witnessed a rapid increase in the number of coronavirus cases during the fasting period. And in order to avoid reoccurrence, stringent measures have already been outlined by the government in order to control the spread of COVID. Details in this report.
The month of Ramadan spurred Egypt's first wave of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020 because of the traditional daily mass gatherings for worship or meeting friends and family. Although the government fears the same this year, it has actually approved extended summer opening hours for restaurants, cafes, and malls. The extended hours will be from Ramadan in mid-April till September. While extending operating hours and reopening mosques for mass prayers, as long as health measures are in place, the government has banned charity food tables and gatherings in indoor areas, funerals, and celebrations. It's a balancing game to keep the economy flowing. To avoid a third wave of the coronavirus, the government announced heftier fines and penalties for those not abiding by health measures, like wearing masks, social distancing, or keeping 50% capacity in recreation areas.
Well, viewers, that was all on the world today. Thanks for watching and bye for now.